Hello, world. Mystic Mike here today to talk about shadow work and the importance of shadow work. And before I get too far into shadow work, I'm going to talk a little bit about my story and how I came to be where I'm at today. I wasn't always as positive, I wasn't always as optimistic. I used to be very angry, and I experienced a lot of stuff growing up that really made me in this space and kept me in this space of not caring about other people, not caring about myself. And it was because of all this stuff I witnessed and experienced. It kind of put a chip on my shoulder. Um, but how I was able to flip this is that all this stuff, all this anger, all this judgment I had for myself and this anger I had towards myself, as well as the situations in my life, and kind of the universe. It's like I felt like the universe was just out to get me as well. So I had this chip on my shoulder, and I would project all this anger out into the world, all my frustrations, all my feelings, all my low vibrational things that I've experienced. I would project that out into the world and kind of amplify it, if that makes sense. And this led me to really a, a dark place, an internally dark place. It led me to a place where I felt really depressed, really lost, and ultimately it's because I was refusing to accept my shadow, refusing to acknowledge my shadow. And once I first started to do this, once I really started to do this, uh, I was able to finally have an experience that led to enlightenment, that led to understanding, led to a higher consciousness of myself. And it was triggered by shadow work. That's why I feel like it's one of the most important things if you want to be happy, if you want to be more spiritual, if you want to be more conscious, if you want to be more considerate. All these things stem from doing shadow work and dealing with traumas. This goes into all these aspects of your life, and really being able to mend and heal these and accept these aspects of yourself, rather than feel like they're an excuse for you to act a certain way or to project a certain energy out. Because I used to use all my situations that I grew up with as an excuse or a reason, glorified excuse, for doing what I do, for acting the way I act, for being not so nice to the people in my life, for, just acting out in rage and anger. But the importance of shadow work and me doing my shadow work when I first started to cut out the noise that wasn't me, I was able to retrieve this. And that's when I actually had my first conversation with Source. With Source energy, I had a complete connection, which literally liberated and changed my life instantly. I changed who I was at that exact day, that exact moment, because I was connected to something greater than just myself. And I can't explain it. It's an experience that you can't explain. And for people who have had that experience, as well as I do, that it's something that you have to experience, that you have to retrieve for yourself to be able to have that impact on yourself. And, shadow work, for people who don't know what shadow work is, it's really doing the work and also accepting the aspects of yourself that your parents, society have told you are not worthy of accepting. That these are bad traits, these are bad qualities, these are things that you shouldn't be. All these things are projections that have been put on us since we were little, since we were a kid, since we were a baby, our whole life. Our whole life, these things have been projected on us. What to be, what not to be, how to act, how not to act. And, me being a male And a man, there's also certain stimulations with that as well. There's certain circumstances that they feel like men need to fall into. I was a very emotional kid. But it's all that thing about, you might have heard this saying as well, quit crying or I'm going to give you something to cry about. Or man up, toughen up. All these things didn't help me growing up. And I understand, the people in my life did the best they could with the things that they were dealing with as well. And that's part of shadow work, is realizing this, not holding those things against people, not holding those situations against circumstances. And I used to do that all the time. But as I was saying, these things really did not serve me, and they went against my shadow. They went against the things that make me me, regardless of what people think or regardless of what perceptions people have, because I am an empath. I've always been an empath since I was a little kid. And because of that, I'm able to I feel like a lot of things. I feel a lot of energies. I feel what people are going through. I feel their struggles, which I use now to benefit myself, to help people. But when I was a kid, none of that stuff got nurtured. None of that stuff got taken care of. So I just kept putting this stuff under the rug, sweeping it, putting it on the back burner, not making it a focus, not prioritizing my feelings, taking what people told me to heart because I felt like I needed to do these things, to appeal to some people or to please other people. And what it led me to is just shutting off my emotions, becoming less emotional, less sympathetic, and it really closed me off. And that's when I was, in my dark phase, where I was able to just admit all this anger and frustration out into the world. But what I'm trying to say with this video, I thought I would tell a little bit of my story, because the importance of this is why I'm able to do this right now. I am no longer that person who makes excuses or lets my past define who I am or the energy I give out. Now I give out love. I give out, so much love into the world. And if I'm not giving out that vibration, it's stuff that I need to release without projecting it out. But the importance of shadow work is key. And everyone has shadow work. And the importance of acknowledging this is key, because if you're not acknowledging this, you're a lot like who I used to be, and you're putting this stuff under the rug, and you're getting more angry, and you're becoming more unhappy with your life and circumstances, and you're just spewing all this bullshit out into the world that you don't want to spit out into the world, but you're doing it anyways because of all these circumstances that are building up inside of you, all these emotions that are suppressed and unable to be released. So it's all about accepting these aspects of yourself. When you're feeling sad, express it. When you're feeling angry, express it. Acknowledge these. Accept these aspects of yourself. Accept your emotions. Accept the process. And stop caring about what projections are put onto you. Because your shadow, and this is why they call it the shadow, is because it never goes away. I meet people all the time who try to run from their shadow. Your shadow follows you everywhere you go. And it's always going to be there. And it will lead you, if you refuse to accept that aspect of yourself, it will lead to self-hatred, no love for yourself, and vice versa. Because of those feelings, you will emit a lot of that anger, a lot of your frustrations, a lot of your unworthiness out into the world, and it's a vicious cycle that repeats. So when you start retrieving these aspects of yourself, reclaiming these aspects, for example, a lot of your inner child stuff, the things that your parents said you couldn't be, or you couldn't express yourself this way, or you need to toughen up, or stop crying, all these things need to be broken down and dealt with. And emotional releases are a part of that as well. Because I feel like a lot of people distract themselves when these emotional releases come up. where it's like, oh, I'm very emotional. I feel like crying, or I feel like getting really frustrated and angry. It's okay to get angry. What's not okay is to project that out into the world, because it is going to come back to you and leave you even more miserable, even more unsure about yourself, and even hating yourself even more on another level. So these are very important steps to just accepting your shadow. And this is a great big topic, but I just wanted to cover this because acknowledging your shadow is the first thing that started bringing real change to my life. First, I had to take accountability, of course. I've covered that in other videos. But the next step was, after I take accountability for my life and the way I'm feeling, what do I do? What do I do with all this anger? What do I do with all this sadness? All this depression? What do I do with all this? And the answer was very simple. Accept it. Accept who I was right at that moment. And once I accepted that, I was able to change things. I was able to bring up the dirt of my life, bring up, take out the skeletons in my closet, in a sense, clean out my closet, and really start to change my life and start to reclaim who I really was and always was, regardless of what circumstances was. Because growing up, I was a very loving kid. And then circumstances happen, and slowly but surely, all this stuff started to weigh down on me, and then I became angry and unsure and lost and just depressed. And that's when I found it. That's when I was able to really retrieve myself for the first time and had that amazing transformation where I was talking to Source. I had that connection to Source for the first time in my life. And it was the best thing that's ever happened to me. And it's all because I accepted my shadow. And I still have to accept aspects of my shadow to this day. There's still things that come up and I feel like, oh, I shouldn't be angry. I shouldn't stay in this anger. And I don't stay in feelings that long, but that's really what it's about. It's about dealing with these things, accepting the aspects of yourself, and retrieving who you are that people have taken from you. And that's really what shadow work is. And if you need help with shadow work, just reach out to me or reach out to somebody. Resonate with somebody and go with whoever that is. Resonate with whoever you're going with to help you with this issue. I do sessions with shadow work and uncovering these things and dealing with shadow work. And, so if you resonate with me, just message me, or you can leave a comment if you have any questions. But this is such an important step. This is a key fundamental step to retrieving yourself, to retrieving your happiness, to reclaiming self-love. Especially if you do not love yourself, if you can't look yourself in the mirror and smile at yourself or congratulate yourself, and all you get is negative thoughts when you think about yourself, like I am this, I am this, I am this, and they're all negative, chances are you have a lot of suppressed emotions and you are refusing to accept your shadow, and you're deeming your shadow as evil or bad, and it's not. And the refusal, I also want to talk about one thing before I jump off. The refusal of accepting your shadow will also manifest into physical things. It will manifest into crap situations, crap relationships. It will even manifest into spiritual attacks. So if you've ever been spiritually attacked, it's probably because you manifested that from refusing to accept an aspect of yourself, from refusing to accept your shadow and learn to live with it rather than feel like you can run from it, because that's not going to happen. Their stuff's always going to come up. And if you don't deal with it now, it's going to come up a year from now, even bigger, even scarier, even harder to face. So that's why I always encourage people to step into their power and accept the aspects and to embrace their emotions when they come up. Stop sweeping your emotions under the rug. Stop feeling like you need to be, strong by not expressing your emotions. Real strength is being able to be vulnerable and express your emotions entirely. Be authentic with how you're feeling at that time. Stop putting on a fake face for other people and allow yourself to be vulnerable, emotional, triggered. All these things you need to do in order to change circumstances. Because once you're able to release emotions, you're letting that go, and you're giving the opportunity to fill yourself up with light, with happiness, with different emotions. So it's, for example, if you don't want to cry because you feel like it's weak or it makes you vulnerable or whatever it is, whatever projections that were put on you from society or your parents, get rid of those. Because once you are feeling like you need to cry, cry. Because once you release that emotion or you have that good cry, you feel, not only do you feel better after, but you're opening yourself up to replace that emotion with the better emotion, to replace that energy with the higher vibrational energy. And the importance of why I'm saying this right now is because we are going through a huge shift in the planet right now. A huge shift. The energies are raising, the vibration of the planet's raising, and if you are having a really bad time right now, this is for you. If you are having a bad time, you need to start stepping into these things rather than running from these things. Because the more you run, the more you're going to be miserable, the more you're going to get depressed, the more you're going to get close to that edge where you don't want to be. It's very lonely on that edge. It's very dangerous to be on that edge, because if you don't step down from that edge, it ultimately leads to your demise. And I don't want that to happen to anyone. I want them to know that no matter what happens in life, you are strong enough to go through these things. Step into that courageous energy and deal with these things. Yes, they're scary to deal with at the time, but once you still deal with them and you start making this process, you will start to feel better about yourself and who you are and where you need to go. And that's all I really wanted to say. I love you all, and like always, I hope you all have an amazing rest of your day. Take care.